Welcome to the Veterinary Rehabilitation Podcast, where we aim to help fellow veterinary rehab therapists increase their knowledge and elevate their practice. I'm Megan Kelly.
And I'm Anae Lloyd. Together, we bring you the latest insights, research, and information in the field of veterinary rehabilitation.
This podcast is brought to you by Onlinepethealth, a leading continuing education membership for veterinary rehabilitation therapists. With Onlinepethealth, you'll have access to a wide range of online resources to help you stay up to date with the latest techniques, advances, and trends in the industry.
Our podcast features in-depth conversations with leading experts in veterinary rehabilitation. They share their own experiences and knowledge to help you improve your practice. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out in the field, our goal is to provide you with the tools and the insights you need to succeed.
So join us as we explore the exciting world of veterinary rehabilitation and help you take your practice to the next level. Hey vet rehabbers, in this episode I sit down with Ilona Hudson from Move Unleashed to explore her inspiring journey in veterinary rehabilitation. Ilona shares how partnering with a non-veterinarian has brought a unique and invaluable perspective to her practice, shaping its growth and success. We dive into her exciting plans to open a new rehab center featuring an underwater treadmill. She also breaks down her decision-making process, weighing the pros and cons of this as an investment and how she determined if it was the right fit for her practice. This episode is packed with insights into the importance of diverse partnerships, thoughtful planning, and making strategic investments that align with your practice's goals and values. The month of February is our birthday month, and to mark the occasion, we have partnered with the Veterinary Academy of Higher Learning to bring you 2 incredible webinars. We're gifting them to the entire vet rehab community. That means even if you're not an Onlinepethealth member, you can still watch them for free. You simply just have to head over to onlinepethealth.com/gift to sign up. And the webinars are by Dr. Rachel Kane, and she's presenting the power of muscles, and she explores muscle structure, function, and anatomy, emphasizing their critical role in rehabilitation. And then Steve Adair will dive into regenerative rehabilitation and how it's reshaping our veterinary rehab field. So I can't wait to see all of you online for these informative webinars. A quick word from our sponsors before we dive in. Nada first developed her courses at the Colorado State University, where she started the Medical Acupuncture for Veterinarian Certificate program in 1998. In so doing, Dr. Robinson developed a science-based platform for veterinary acupuncture, the first of its kind. Today, Curricle Vet offers a comprehensive curriculum in integrative medicine with a rational evidence-supported foundation. The courses include medical acupuncture, photomedicine, botanical medicine, medical massage, and integrative rehabilitation. Now, you can discover Curricle Vet at curricle.org. Right, over to my chat with Ilona. Hi Ilona, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me on the podcast.
Ilona, for the listeners, won't you tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got into the field of vet rehab?
So it's a bit of an evolution. I started off, I did my vet degree in Sydney, and then a few years later I did some study in horse medicine. And then, so I had a job the whole time after vet as not just as a traditional vet, GP vet. I worked large animal practice, mixed practice, small practice, did a range of things. Then I decided with the help of some friends that there must be more, and I studied a degree in Australia that was then called animal chiropractic. We now call it animal biomechanical medicine. So that was a university degree, and then I decided there must be something more. So some years later I did acupuncture, and then I decided there must be something more. So then I did rehab, and here we are.
So what's next? What's the next more?
Well, the next more is a little bit of a focus on using all of those skills in the business. I also now do teaching of the animal biomechanical medicine degree, and that degree needs a little bit of work along with the whole teaching team, so that needs some focus. Maybe I'd really like to do some more study in herbal medicine. I've done a short course in herbal medicine, maybe some more Chinese medicine. I don't know. We'll just see where the journey takes us.
You're definitely a lifelong learner. So sounds like there's more studies to happen.
But there's never stop learning.
No, you can't. Exactly. That's our motto at Onlinepethealth. Vet rehabbers never stop learning, right? Yeah. So that term animal biomechanical medicine, that's a new term, something that I haven't heard before. Is that something that's like quite known in Australia, or is that also quite new?
It's fairly new, and to say it's new, I did the degree 20 years ago when it was called animal chiropractic, but the degree evolved from just chiropractic because it brings together vets, chiropractors, and osteopaths. And so there's more skills from the osteopathy side of things, lots of soft tissue stuff. So it really needed a name that covered it better, as in, what we're trying to achieve and who's in the degree. And it really wasn't being fair calling it animal chiropractic. So it was changed to animal biomechanical medicine.
And is that a term that like horse owners and dog owners are like aware of? Like, I mean, because when you do the course, is that what you say you are? Like, is that something that confuses them?
Yeah, I think it is. It's becoming more known, and it certainly depends where you are in Australia. Like South Africa, a big country. There's a lot of diversity of people who do, if you want to call it, body work here. But it is becoming more known, and in some of the areas, like in Victoria, there's a lot of people doing it. Whereas I feel like in Queensland, you have more of the animal physios. So it kind of depends a little bit who you are, but the word of mouth is strong with the members, and I think it'll get better and better.
So I actually feel for pet owners and horse owners, because we have like so many different names that we call what all of us do, right? And so they're like,
yes,
who's what? And like, what do you all do? Like, there's so many names, like massage therapist, body worker, physical therapist, physiotherapist, veterinary rehabilitation therapist. I mean, they must be so confused, right?
And it also doesn't help that there is a variety of registrations and training packages, from like a weekend course to, like what I did, which is a 2-year degree. And that's another rabbit hole for another day, but that must be very confusing for people.
It must be so confusing.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's chat about you and your clinic. So you've been working as a vet and you've been doing rehab in your veterinary practice. What are the next moves that you're making now? So tell us about the clinic and then what changes you're making.
So the vet clinic is a small animal only clinic these days, and we have 4. I think we have 4 vets. I get very confused. There's a lot of coming and going at different times, just times of the year. We're about to have 2 new vets start, but we've been going for nearly 22 years. And so that's me and a business partner, and she's just amazing. She's not a vet. And then at some point when I started doing the rehabilitation side of things, we operated that within the vet practice, but then that evolved to needing its own space and time and personnel, and it's now my full-time concern. So I see horses as well. So some of that's in the clinic, some of that's out of the clinic. We've really outgrown the space we're in, and the vets need space and I need space and rehab takes space. So we've just signed a lease on a new premises and bought an underwater treadmill, which should arrive in 2 weeks. And we're on the move. So we'll still operate out of the clinic, but we're going to have some of the time in the new premises as well.
That's so exciting. I remember when I got my underwater treadmill, it was like, and you said something before we started recording. You were like, I just had to have the underwater treadmill. I'd been treating without it for so long, and it was just enough. It was time, right?
Yes. There is a hydrotherapy facility near us, but there's no underwater treadmill close by.
Yeah, I used to have like a lot of patients, and I think for me it was especially my neurological cases. So the ones like the Dachshunds and the ones that I was trying to get them to walk again. Those ones, like they used to do swimming, but I just knew the underwater treadmill was what they needed. And then the hip dysplasias and the cushions, like those ones, I felt like we just used to get a bit stagnant sometimes, and and I had exactly the same feeling. It was just like, I know that if I have this underwater treadmill and do the treatments that I'm doing in conjunction with that, I'm going to see better results. And it was literally the case. I got the underwater treadmill and I was just blown away, and it was the best decision I'd made. It was easier before because I was traveling around and I didn't have a brick and mortar practice, and I had to get the brick and mortar practice. But literally for my career and just for my just the way that I was treating and how I felt about my cases, I knew that I was doing everything I could now for them. There was always that limitation for me. I was like, oh, if only.
It's that continuous feeling that there must be something more you can do, and you always want to do more and do better.
Yeah, exactly. So where are you getting your underwater treadmill from?
It's coming from China. So it should be, it's made and it should be coming in 2 weeks.
Okay. And is it got a name, the brand, or is it just like, I know that like in China they do make like some, I wouldn't call them no name brand, but it's like they make underwater treadmills, but not like
Yes.
sort of the brands that we hear and know all the time.
I don't think it's a common brand name. No, I'm not aware that it has a special name.
And what research did you do in order to find it? Because I mean, I think that's one of the struggles that a lot of us have, depending on where you are in the world. You know, if there isn't a manufacturer of underwater treadmills in your country, then you have to import it from somewhere, and there are different places that you can import it. So could you run through like the thought process that you went through that this might help other people in a similar position?
So I was lucky enough, and this may or may not help people, I was lucky enough to have a contact overseas, like a childhood friend who had a contact in China who deals with sports equipment and a variety of different things. And so he set up a conversation for me, which was just great. And he stayed in on the conversation and helped with the more technical questions. Then on this side of things, so we looked at what's available in Australia. I talked to other owners of underwater treadmills, find out do's, don'ts, pros, cons, all that sort of stuff. Then I also talked to some tradespeople in terms of the management and the maintenance of a piece of equipment like that when it gets to this country, because that's outside my wheelhouse. And so we looked at the people in China have been extremely communicative, like just so amazing to deal with, sending us videos and pictures and explanations and guidebooks, and we've looked at parts and what's going to suit us, and together, so we had a whole team of helpers. Everybody agreed that this particular unit was the unit for us.
And then are they going to come and install it, or do you have to get somebody local to do that?
The installation is done by somebody local.
Okay. Which is actually,
but we made sure we had all the people on board before that.
Like, you think actually you want the people that made it to install it, but then it doesn't help you when there's a problem like a month's time, you know, because then how do you get that person out? So I was actually one of the people that got the first underwater treadmill into South Africa, and we got that one from the UK, and the team actually flew out and installed it and everything. And then one of the struggles we had was, you know, maintenance and things that were going wrong. And and we would, you know, the best way that we could do it actually was we used to find, we actually found a pool company. Because usually those kind of people are the right people. There's pumps and there's things that are very similar to pools. And then that company actually just used to FaceTime, or I think it was Skype in those days. Used to like Skype the person and be like, okay. And so the person from the pool company had a little bit of knowledge, and then that other person, you know, in the UK would just be like, okay, this is where you got to look. And they did it together. Like whenever there was something that needed to be done, they made a plan.
And I think that a lot of the machinery looks exactly now, as you said, like a pool. And that's exactly what we likened it to when the team was discussing, you know, how we're going to manage this going forward.
Yeah. And I think also, you know, one thing that's important, and hopefully they'll give this to you, is some type of maintenance guide, you know, like
they have already given that to us.
Yeah, like how to clean it. And because I remember like when we got ours, you know, they didn't really tell us, like even the water management and things like that. Like we literally didn't know what to do. Like we had to just sort of work it out with like a spa, like pool spa person, you know, like we think like, hey, it's similar to like a spa bath, you know, that people will go in, and but like this is animals. And obviously we like thinking about nosocomial, is that the right way? Nosocomial infections, you know, things like that, like and like our therapists are standing in the water sometimes, and you know, so it's like it's got to be something that'll protect them as well as the animals, but nothing too harsh that it's going to like burn their skin or anything like that. So And I'm talking now, like, this is like 2008. Like, no, actually earlier, 2006.
Yeah.
This is happening. Yeah. So it was like nobody knew what to do, but now it's so much more common, and we have so many more trainings on water management. And actually, on the online pet health platform in the hydrotherapy, we have a huge section on water management and exactly how to do that and what to test and all those kind of things. So it is a whole lot easier now.
Well, as soon as it arrives, I'll have a look at all of that stuff. That's so exciting.
Yeah, the hydrotherapy section of the membership is amazing. There is so much content there. You definitely want to look at it.
And we're lucky enough to have someone who wants to come on board who is trained in hydrotherapy.
Okay, excellent. Nice. All right, so you're going to have the new premises where the underwater treadmill is, and then you're going to still carry on the other side, and you're going to be doing the horses. So are you planning on getting more staff? Because I'm feeling like this one person's going to be stretched thin.
I need more hours in the day. I think to start with, I will operate the treadmill just so I get a really good feeling for what that looks like. You know, and everything that Vicky and I have done together has been about making sure we know how everyone does their job. But it won't take us very long, and that's why I have this person waiting in the wings to come and do it, so that I can be doing my side of the job and she can be doing her side of the job. She'll operate the treadmill eventually full time, and then that will allow me to do the bits that I need to do and go out and see the horses. So I'll probably work, you know, 2 days in the clinic, 2 days in the other hospital, and then I'll be able to do horses as well.
Yeah. No, it's nice to have somebody who knows what's going on, but it's a great idea for you to also do it, because sometimes that person's sick and then we got to step in, and then we have to know how everything works. Yeah, the keypad and everything. You know, I remember when I was in my clinic, I used to do it a little bit, but I mean, I always had other like hydrotherapists that used to do it. And then one days when they were sick and I had to get in there, I was absolutely exhausted at the end of the day. Tell you is that you don't actually realize how like physically challenging it is actually to do hydrotherapy. And you know, I just took it for granted because I was always doing acupuncture and doing the consults, and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, to the hydrotherapist, I am so shattered. 2 days of doing hydrotherapy.
And I certainly remember when I did the internship for my rehab, looking at the physio who I did the first 2 days with and thinking, wow, you are in there, out of there, on the floor, doing this, doing that. That's exhausting. It's a lot on your body. And it was like, you know, however many animals a day, it was a long day. So I'm really aware of that. And I think, you know, looking after our own bodies is the key factor to being able to look after the animals better.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we used to see 16 to 18 patients a day on the underwater treadmill. And we had more than one person helping. So like one would come out, they'd be getting dry, that person would be like finishing the notes and things, but still it's a lot. And I think it's also those paralyzed dogs that you're in the treadmill and you're actually leaning over and you're doing, you know, the gait training and you're walking for. But there are lots of little things that you can make. I remember my hydrotherapist husband was quite handy, and he made this like little stool for her that like went over the belt so that she could literally, because she was really tall, and she could sit, and she would actually sometimes be sitting in the water, but it was fine. She used to just sit on the stool with her legs on either side, and she would do the gait training. So they're little things. Sometimes you can buy them, but I think most of the time it's some handy husband who has, you've got an idea and then they make it for you.
And if you look at the things that people like ultrasonographers use to make their job easy, where they have a sling around their arm, or the sheep shearers have a thing that sling around their belly, things that support you, I think that's really critical. And you're right, somebody should be able to make that up for you.
Yeah, just got to see what works for you.
Yeah.
All right, let's chat about your partnership. Because I find this so interesting. Like, there's so many people that are just one-man bands, so they just run their practices on their own. But so like recently, like the last few, probably about the last 4 or so Behind the Vet Rehab Practice podcasts I've done, I've had people in partnerships, and often it's a partnership where the one person is qualified and then the other person isn't.
Mhm.
And it's been so interesting chatting to those people. I mean, because you said Vicky's not a vet. Is she a
That's right.
consultant, or does she like practice in any other thing? Like, is she a nurse, or is she like completely like not practicing? So she's just doing like,
She
management.
she does the management full time. She started off as a vet nurse and then she went on to do the management diploma. She now also consults for another company, coaching other vet practices. So it might be vets or managers or nurses, coaching them in business management. But 100% of her time is management of the business. So we have a practice manager as well.
Okay.
But we sort of have this, I want to say joke, but it's not really funny. We have this thing that we say that only one of us is allowed to have a breakdown at once. So, you can be upset or worried about this thing, but next week it's my turn. And
Yeah.
and it's served us well for a very long time. I think that when I look at people and who are doing it on their own, I think that their struggle is very real. To do work in the business and on the business, that's a lot on your own. And I don't know how I would do this without her. We could not do what each other does.
No, exactly what you're saying. So the people that I've spoken to that have had the partner that doesn't practice, they literally like can divide the roles, and so the vets or the veterinary physiotherapist or the qualified person who's practicing, it's so much easier for them because they can literally focus on that, but still have a little bit of a 10% where they
Yeah,
are just making decisions and supporting that other person, because
yeah,
obviously there's communication that has to happen and decisions that have to happen together. But the key main things that are driving the practice are being done by somebody who doesn't have another role where they have to consult. Because, if you think about it, I think about my practice when I had it. I mean, I don't actually know how I did it, because
yeah.
I did have a practice manager, but there was still so many things. I did a lot of things like after hours. And then I also just scheduled my time where I would consult for half a day on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And then I would do admin on Tuesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon to get things done. Because on a Wednesday, I used to consult from 8 in the morning till 6 at night. And sometimes I didn't have a break. Like literally there were emergencies and dogs that were screaming in pain with neck pain or a disc or something like that. And, I had to squeeze them in my lunch hour. And you know how this is a
Yeah,
vet. You don't really
yeah,
get a lunch hour.
yeah,
And so like to try and like make important decisions and like do admin and manage your team and things like that, it's just like you just don't have the time. So I love this dynamic where you've got one person who is like the main person or the consultant, and then another person who can just focus on the management. And then also, if you think about it, that person that's in the one-man band at the same time is trying to improve their knowledge in the field that they're in. So
yeah.
to education, then they're still expected to do continue education or improve their knowledge on marketing skills and other business skills and financial
It's
things
too
to run
much.
your business and to be like a really good business person. How do you do that and keep up to date with the other stuff and keep everyone happy? It is literally too much for one person to do. And especially if you've got a really busy practice and you've got multiple people working there. So I really love the dynamic that you set up.
And if you want to have a family and a life or a hobby as well, and maybe a holiday, that really is it. That's a lot for one person. And I don't have any judgment of the people who choose to do that, but sometimes I worry that when I meet them, how their longevity of doing that just doesn't seem to me to it doesn't seem to be a thing you can keep going at.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely are some therapists that have got it right. And it's
Yeah,
usually because they've got a right-hand lady or right-hand man, right? So their practice manager is that person. It's sort of like their
yeah,
partner, but they have all that knowledge and they have the capability of doing all those things. So sometimes you get it right, but those people are hard to find.
yeah,
It's hard to find
absolutely.
somebody that will put into your business as much as if it was their own.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so let's chat about the finances of the underwater treadmill. I mean, obviously you've been established for quite a while. Was that I mean, it's a big, big financial decision to make to buy an
Yeah.
underwater treadmill. And so I'm sure for the two of you, it was a lot of conversations around it. How did you finance it? Did you get a loan for it, or did you have capital in the business that you could use? And, what were the feelings around it? I mean, because I think that a lot of us are thinking, oh, we want this, but there's this nervous part of us is like, is it actually going to be something we're going to get a return on the investment of that money that we're spending?
Well, I think the first thing is we talked about it for a while, as yes, we want to do this. Do we have enough money? Just like what you said. And then when it got to a point where we really decided that was what we wanted to do, we looked at the finances of the business, and we looked at, the first thing we always do is we look at what's the return on investment need to be, and how long does it take to pay for something like this. And we decided, and so we looked at what other people are charging for this and what we think are reasonable charges, which I don't know that we're finally there yet. And then we decided we would pay it off in installments, which we were able to do. And so we actually paid for it on a credit card and paid for it in installments. So that was the decision for that particular piece of equipment. That's not what we always do, but it just worked for this.
And did you come up with a number of patients that you need to see sort of minimum per day that would like get you to the point where you paid it off over a certain amount of time?
We did, but we had the conversation so long ago, I can't remember what it was.
How many? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, just for the listeners, that's basically like the what you have to work out. Is like, okay, if we see like 5 patients a day, and we paying this off over 5 years, or let's say we want to pay it over 5 years, and if we do that, how much are we going to earn, and are we going to be able to pay the loan back? I mean, that's what I did with mine. And it was amazing. Like, I think in mine at the time, it was like 2 patients a day when I bought mine.
Right.
I had to have 2 patients going to underwater treadmill per day, from Monday to Friday, because I wasn't operating on a Saturday then. And I mean, I thought that's a no-brainer. I can easily do that. And I've got so many patients that need to do that. And I think we were on like 4 or 5 a day from the very beginning. So it definitely was something that was worth it. And paid off in 5 years, mine. And then I had an asset, that was just generating income. So yeah, for me, it was definitely something that's worth it. But you do have to work everything out. Obviously, it depends on how much it costs, and the transporting it and all of that. So you got to put all of that, and also the maintenance and insurance and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. The insurance is very important.
Yeah, and that's worth it. I just want to say is that I actually had like, I don't know what it's called now, but it's sort of like income protection for your underwater treadmill. So if at any stage my underwater treadmill wasn't working for more than 24 hours, that insurance company would pay me what I could make it on in a day. So we had like a fixed amount.
I think that's called business interruption insurance, or that's what we have it as. Yes.
Yeah, and that was worth it, because we had 1 or 2 times where there was a part that we needed, and it took like 2 weeks to get that part, and that really would have had a severe impact on my business if we didn't get that income. And so I got that money from the insurance company after 24 hours. It was a 24-hour thing, but you can do anything. You can say 72 hours. Like for me, it was 24 hours, but I was seeing like 16 to 18 patients a day, so it was a large part of my business.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I'll check that.
Yeah. Okay, let's chat about the marketing of it now. So, I mean, obviously a lot of your clients have come through your current practice. Do you, like, let's just take the underwater treadmill aside. So in the practice that's there, and you've got the rehab side, are you getting referrals from other vets or from other people? Or is it all sort of internal?
So a lot of it is internal from the vets I work with. And we have a surgeon come in and do surgery. So anything that's orthopedic or requires rehab, they automatically have rehab visits tacked on to what they're having done. So that's part of the package. I then do have some outside referring vets who, I have nurtured over the years, but I wouldn't say they're a lot. They're very few and far between, despite people knowing what I do. Most of the stuff that we get is word of mouth. I met such and such on the beach and they told me to come and see you. My dog gets walked by this lady. She sees you. She told me there's something wrong with the dog. Yeah, so those sort of people.
Yeah, you might find now with the new practice, how far away is it from your current practice?
25 minutes.
Okay, yeah, you might find now you might get more referrals because there's going
Might
to
be
be
a different,
no
yeah.
primary GP work at the
Yes,
rehab
yeah,
practice
that's
now.
right.
Yeah. So when I had my
I think,
practice, yeah, they were
sorry,
the
you go.
vets that were referring were always very worried that I was going to do GP work.
Yes.
And you know, when I reassured them that I wasn't, and I'd always refer back to them for that, the relationship completely changed. They started referring to me. So it was always just a worry because I was a vet. They were like, well, you know, are they going to be taking away? And then they realized I'm not taking away, I'm just actually enhancing what they're doing and I'm supporting them and we're working together as a team. Then things completely changed. But I was next to another practice. So I had my premises and there was a GP practice right next door, and that was a little bit of a threat for them. But I think with you guys, it's going to be great because you stand alone completely. So just maybe, yeah, just communicate that with them that, you know, you won't take on any GP work at that practice and would always refer back to them if there's a problem.
And I can certainly understand why over the years they would be concerned about that. But the reality of it and what I have tried to convey is that I don't want the GP work. I don't have time to do the GP work. I want these, I don't offer the same services, and I want them to have a relationship. And I'm very clear with clients, you need to go back to your vet and have that relationship.
Yeah. So what is your marketing plan for the new practice? Have you got?
So we started with this week, everybody who is a current client got an email stating that we've bought it, pardon me, that we've bought the underwater treadmill, that we're moving, this is our new premises address, and we look forward to welcoming them. So from there, the next step is just some talk about it on the Facebook, on the socials, Facebook, Insta, on the website. There's some paid advertising coming. So that's kind of where we're up to at this stage. And then I think the other thing that we have is a very strong word of mouth. So I've been working with a group of other vets. So one of them has the same training as me. One of them is a vet who does a lot of behavior and holistic stuff. Another one's holistic. And they are spreading the word to their clients about what we're doing. And so I guess we see in the new year what it looks like, and I'm about to be joined by a cat, what it looks like and what the business, you know, how the business gets started, and then we go from there and see what's needed next.
Yeah. So is it the first standalone rehab practice in your area?
Yes.
Yeah. So what you could do is, I don't know if you have like a mayor in your area, but you could like do a massive opening, like have a ribbon and a ribbon cutting and get the mayor to come, and then all the, like, usually what happens is all the media comes and takes photos and things, and you could get some publicity from that. So I've heard of,
certainly is an option. Yes.
yeah, I've heard of other practices doing similar things. So if you have like, you know, you have contacts and you can get hold of the mayor and say, hey, this is what's happening. And yeah, and because the media can really help you spread the word.
And I think I've heard of that. I don't know whether it was one of your podcast guests or another podcast, but it was talking about business building. And that was exactly the suggestion they had, was this great opening.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that's a fabulous idea.
Yeah, and so this person that I interviewed, they were like, yeah, they just got sent to the mayor's office, said this is like the first standalone and practice in the area, and they got a ribbon and they got champagne and they did a whole cutting, you know. So because the mayor's there, then the media follows, right? And then they'll, you know, so then yeah, you basically like use the mayor, and it's nice for the mayor to be a part of it, especially if they're an animal lover. I think in this case they were, so that really helped. And yeah, and then they just got into so many like newspapers and things because of that. There was a big thing, like Mayor opens the first standalone veterinary rehabilitation clinic in, you know, whatever. So
yeah. No, I think that's an awesome idea. I love it.
And then the other thing is also just like networking, really, which I think you're doing really well with all the other like vets that you have in your area, but looking at people like just dog groomers and behavioralists and trainers and things like that. So just finding.
We thought maybe some opportunities to go to like dog training events and dog shows. Like there's a lot of a big community locally.
Yeah. And are you planning on having an open day?
We haven't planned one yet, but that's certainly something we can look at in the new year. I think that will be a great deal of interest to people to see what the facility look like.
Yeah, if you haven't seen an underwater treadmill before, so then you just got to get like a few vet nurses and vets dogs to just keep walking, ones that can walk in the underwater treadmill. And I remember when I got mine, we only had like one dog that we could get to walk because we just got it, right? And then we had this open day and we put like a few of like our dogs in it, and like my dog was completely useless. And we just had like my vet nurse's dog was like the only one. It was a Rhodesian Ridgeback, and the Ridgeback was the only one that would walk. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? Your poor dog can't walk the whole time, because like the open day was like the whole afternoon. So we had to give the dog breaks. But yeah, and then all the other dogs were just completely useless, because obviously when you get them in, you have to do that, like give them the time to get used to it. And the first 3 times any patient goes on anyway, half the time they hardly walk. You just get those outliers that suddenly just start walking and they're like, oh, I like this.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a big learning curve.
Yeah. Well, good luck. It's really, really exciting. I'm very, very excited.
Thank you.
Ilona, it's been so lovely chatting to you. Thank you for sharing your journey with us and all your exciting plans for the next few months. And hoping that the underwater treadmill comes in. And when is your first day? Because obviously it's like coming towards the end of the year. Are you like bringing it in 2 weeks, installing it, and then opening it in the new year?
I don't have a final date for it to arrive yet. So we start in the premises on Thursday this week. And then as soon as I have that date, the last update I have, the treadmill is in testing, and they sent me a video of it being water tested. And so as soon as I know when it's coming, then we'll be ready. But I'm thinking it'll be into the new year.
Yeah, exciting. Well, congratulations. Yeah. And we'll have to get you back on, and maybe in 6 months' time or so, just to find out how it's going with the underwater treadmill.
I think that's an awesome idea. I'd love to come back.
Awesome. Thanks, Ilona. Great chatting.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time I load a new podcast. I'm here every week talking to vet rehab therapists from all over the world about all things vet rehab. A big thanks to our sponsor, Curacao Vet. Their sponsorship allows us to be able to give this podcast to you for free, so please go and check them out at curacao.org. Please also don't forget to bookmark the next Vet Rehab Summit. It's on Saturday the 8th of November in 2025. Come and be a part of the world's largest online veterinary rehabilitation conference created specifically for you, the vet rehabber community. Onlinepethealth members, you get VIP complimentary access to the Vet Rehab Summit. For more information about continuing education for vet rehabbers, you can go to onlinepethealth.com.